All right, everybody, welcome to the next demonstration. We are going to be doing an oyster today for your guys' request. Some of this I'm going to speed up, and on YouTube you can just slow it down if you want to watch every single piece, but some of the sculpting would have to speed it up just for the sake of the size of the video. But I will take you through every single step. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is take a look at the references here. Um, there's a variety of references, and we're going to do kind of a hybrid between all these because something like this isn't necessarily feasible just in a sculpt because of all these fine edges and stuff that would have to be done in texture. We'll probably get a lot of shape out of from this reference here. This is some reference for the inside of the oyster. I'm not going to mess with this with the actual oyster meat. It's just going to be an empty shell. This kind of gives us a little bit of an overview of how these waves work. They kind of interlock. Same here. You can see how this is shaped. And this is our good top-down reference, so we're going to start with this one. Usually how I'll do reference is I'll load it into ZBrush under texture, then you hit import. We're going to browse to our directory, Oyster ref, and I'll usually load in a couple at a time, but for this one I'm just going to load in these two because it'll be the basis for our sculpt here. And then under texture, you'll click your image and you click on, and you want to add to spotlight. This will take you in a spotlight. There's lots of demos and tutorials on how to use spotlight, so I'm not going to go over every single feature of it, but you'll just see how I work. So we'll load it in the middle here, since this is just going to be our general shape. And to bring up spotlight and take it away, you hit Z and it brings it up and puts it away. If you want to hide spotlight, Shift Z will get rid of it. And Z will let you edit scale, and you'll see this little dial come up. Like I said, take a look if you're interested in spotlight, or you can ask during class and I can give you a general overview. I'm not going to go, obviously not going to go over every single ZBrush thing there is because this is going to be a demonstration, so I get through a lot of stuff here. So first thing I'm going to do, let's hide this for a second. Grab a sphere, turn it into a polysphere. Show our floor here so we get the right orientation. I'm gonna move tool. Let's see here. And I'm gonna flatten this guy. Flatten it down to about here, just so it has some thickness, because we're gonna Dynamesh this, and if it gets too thin, Dynamesh won't. So here's a Dynamesh. Click that, set the resolution to the default, hide the floor, and bring up our reference again. So just when you bring up Z, you'll get the dial, and hitting Z again will drop it to the canvas, so you can then start messing with it. So I'm going to turn down the opacity of this thing because I just want to see the outline. That's good. So this guy up just to a start. So now what we're going to do now is just hit this silhouette. I'm just going to use the move brush with a really high, well, we'll just do a mid focal shift. It's a really big brush. Start pulling this guy around. Start finding our shape. This is going to be pretty roughed in. Dynamesh every now and again so you can get your resolution. It's going to fill in outline here. Good. Let's tighten this up. Or since we're not really trying to match perfect like concept sketch or anything, we can kind of be just easy with this. Get a general oyster-like shape. So a lot of times I'll take this and just pull it over, opacity up, and just take a look at the object. So that's pretty good. I really don't like this flat area over here. It doesn't oystery. I think this is the angle of the camera, so I'm just gonna fix that. Kind of shape here. And that should do it. Very good start. Then I'm gonna load up that other image. This one. Just gonna drag this over to the side. Take a look at how we're going to build this. So looking at this structure here, it has a stair stepping. So you have a step here, 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 here. They're all kind of following this general shape. So I think I'm going to use this oyster shape as like an outline, like a silhouette outline, and then build some pieces to get this stair stepping. So I'm gonna go over here, duplicate, and I'm gonna turn on transparent and ghost. What this will do is be able to see our shape behind here. So this first stair step, we'll just kind of go this. Something like that. And then I'm going to hide points, delete, and Dynamesh. You can see we've got this piece here. So I'm to duplicate that. This out. Turn off transparency. Let's grab tool. Drag it out here. Transparency back on. Just going to try to find this next edge here. gonna go back to this guy, pull him out, just so we have a good starting point. And I'm not going to use symmetry on this because these things are really asymmetrical. So let's kind of get this shape going. Right. I'm going to turn off this auto masking here real quick. Turn it on ghost because that transparency is messing with us. And I'm not worried too much about this bottom edge because we're going to get rid of it eventually. Just kind of around this guy. So I'm just trying to match this stair stepping here. Off. Starting to work. It looks like these edges come in on each stair. So I'll go ahead and pull these in. It. Maybe they go out. I think they go outside. So edges in. Looks alright. So I'm gonna do this again. Hold down Control Alt. This is gonna give us another step. I'm going to hide. Just turn transparency on. Back in with the brush again. I'm just going to repeat this process over and over again. I'm not going to go as crazy fine as this reference because it would take a lot longer. But this would be the general way of doing this. Probably going to have to go through and fix a lot of this layering after I get this shape laid in because this silhouette thing is kind of messing with. So let's just and move tool again, Control Alt, drag this down. Brush tool. Probably need to start varying these edges, but we'll do that later. Blocking in rough shape here. Same thing. Stair stepping. Out. We'll make this one a little bit thinner. Move tool, Control Alt, and the last one. Alright, go hide this, clear the mask, these. So before I read Dynamesh, I am going to clear the mask. See, got these different poly groups here. So I am going to go down to split the parts. That should get us where we want. So here, yep, what we want. And I'm going to go through and assign poly groups to these. And try to get them into order. For some reason, it doesn't do it in order. So let's see here. Here. Let's see if we got all of our pieces here. And I'm going to merge all these guys back together. Teddy merge down, merge down, merge down, merge down. There we go. There is the start of our oyster. So next thing we're going to do is just go back and tweak all this stuff. I'm going to turn on topological under your brush auto masking. And this will allow, when I start pulling this around, it's only going to grab one surface. It won't grab across these. That's what we want. So I'm just going to go through, kind of straighten this stuff up here. These guys into each other. And there might be a faster way to do this. I'm just winging it at this point. I didn't really plan anything. I'm just using some typical sculpting methods. So now we've got these wavy kind of areas here. These are really broad areas. So I'm just going to lower the move tool and then just start breaking these up. Some finer area. Just looking at the reference every now and again just to kind of make sure these areas are nice. these really organic shapes here. And you can see I kind of match the brush size to how I want these things to look. And I'm not dynameshing, I'm just kind of pushing and pulling at this point. You don't want all your detail to look the same, so vary it up. Big shapes, small shapes. This edge here is probably a bit too thick. So I think I'm going to use H polish brush. Just kind of stuff back. Let's see here. For some reason this brush is not. Okay. See if any of the brushes are working. Alright, let's just see what's going on. Okay, I have no idea. Ah, you know why. So sometimes this happens when you're using Spotlight. We'll go under Brush, Samples, turn the Spotlight projection off. There we go. Spotlight projection means it's got to be behind this image for it to actually take effect. It happens every now and then. I'm not sure why, but it just does. So now we're going to go back. Originally it said and just polish this up. Push this edge, make it thinner. Just going to push this in. That matches the reference a little better. And now since we've dynameshed, we're tied into these bad boys. So let's start with clay tubes. And what we're going to do with clay tubes is I'm going to knock back this edge get uneven, so we don't just have just this hard edge everywhere. Just giving it a bit more organic feel, just in certain areas. Looks like we also need to take these edges back a little bit so they're not so just the top part of these edges. That's good. Alright, let's see what we got here. So this feels a little funky. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and add in this the ridge right here in our reference, so it's in. Around this way. Smooth that out. Pull a trim dynamic, get this edge sharpened up. Good. Then we're going to use a dam standard. Kind of pull this out. Wavy with it. Good. It's like this. Perhaps here. So push this in. Smooth. We're going to smooth this outer edge out here, just to get these edges connected more so they don't look so weird. They look nice and connected. Then I'm going to pull this damn standard brush and then just strengthen these back in. These little creases. Bring our ridging back. I'm going to turn polyframes off too. See what we're doing. You can see the damn standard. I've got the intensity is really low. Probably turn this up a little bit. Sometimes it's good to sculpt with intensity being low, so it's more like a real world tool. It's not just automatically taking out material. And it looks like this edge here starts to merge together. So I'm going to add some material in here with clay tubes just to bring these guys in more. Back in with the damn standard brush to pull. Go. Nice. So as you can see, we've got this going on. We're going to need to definitely do some shaping to get into more of an oyster. But first we're going to straighten out the inside here. We're going to use clay buildup. Just really fast. Really fast with our auto masking back face on so it doesn't bleed through. Just going to go through and smash this together. Just to get an even surface on this. And what I'm going to also do is bring in my smooth stronger brush, which is there. And smooth stronger is really nice for sculpting. large areas, so it just really smooths everything out. Check here. Now we're going to use H polish. Polish this up. Smooth. Polish. Alright, that works. So we need a kind of a concave area here, so we're going to mask this off. We have to do this kind of carefully because we don't want things to bleed over to the other side, but we do want a concave shape. You can see where the masking tool bled through over here. Gotta be really careful about that. And turn on backface mask again so we don't screw ourselves over. Yeah, this piece here is going to be a problem. We're just going to leave it as is. Clear this up, invert it, and we're going to just start moving this up and in just enough to get a concave shape. It's looking good. So let's carve this area out. We'll just use our trim dynamic. Start carving this. Just gonna run over the whole thing here. I'm gonna smooth these areas out. Blend it in. Looking pretty good. So overall, this shape tends to kind of have a pinch to it. Let's take a look at some of our other reference here. So we're going to take a look at this reference. So you can see this whole area kind of pinches. So we're just going to do some really broad strokes with our move brush. I'm going to change the focal shift really high. So it's going to move everything all at once. And I'm going to turn topological off. Might even need to be good. Yeah. See, and we're going to start getting large shapes here. Big movements. So I want to push all this stuff in and back. Push this down. So we start getting more of an oyster shape. I'm just tapping the inside of this. So we start getting things to push out more. This guy down here to go in. probably needs to be pushed way up here. Push, push, push. Yeah, there we go. Getting somewhere. So let's see. Start pulling these out from this direction as well. I don't want to lose too much of this outside detail. You can see we've kind of lost it here. So go back in with clay tubes. Just knock some of this area back in. Dynamesh. I think we're going to do the same thing here. Some of this back. Like I said, I'm just winging this. There might be a faster way to do it. This is just some go-to tried and true methods for sculpting. So pretty good here. Might try a bend. And the bend I'm going to do, I'm just going to go like this. Try a rotation. We can get this to work. It may not work. Let's see. That's the center off. Blur, 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 blur. Try a rotation. I can get it to work. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's try this direction. No, it's not going to work. So, find our floor. And I'm going to rotate this up. Here, the center line. And we're going to see if we can get the S bend to work. So we're going to down to our deformers. And on Y, I think. Let's try this one. Yeah, the bend deformers in ZBrush really don't work too hot. As you can see, not good. So what we're going to do is we'll take this out to Maya, do a bend on it. It's real quick. I need to knock these areas back in. Pretty distinct how these round through here. I'm gonna pull this stuff in. Good enough. I'm also going to take the trim dynamic brush and just knock over some of this stuff. I want this to be too lumpy. We're going to do it. We'll do a detailed sculpt on this as well. But we just want to get the shape in. And also it looks like this starts out, it kind of bends this way. So let's see if we can get that shape in here. Better. Yeah, this is a really hard object because it's just so amorphous. Let's Dynamesh that. Alright. It's pretty good. So we've got in some of these other reference, got these ridges that radiate along um, around this area. They're not as distinct. I think I've got another image that shows ridges. See if I can find one real quick. Yeah, see them here. Here. These really distinct wavy ridges. We're going to get those in there. So to do that, we're going to jump over to Maya. So let's hide this. Go ahead and save this as our first go. Got some. So let's export this as an OBJ. We're going to say Oyster from ZBrush. And then we're going to flip over to Maya. Save this. Import it. For viewport 2.0 to process. On, here we go. So here is our oyster. Sometimes you'll see this happen where you get all these pieces. It's really frustrating, and it's in ZBrush under export. I'm going to turn these off, turn groups off. We'll export it again. Replace it. Let's go new scene just because we don't mess with it. Import. Again. See how it came in so much quicker. So now it's just one piece. And it can get kind of rough doing this when you have high poly objects in Maya. So one thing I do sometimes is just turn off selection highlighting. It's under show and selection highlighting, and then it'll turn off your wireframe. It's still selected, but it's much easier to work with this way. So the first thing we want to do is get that bend that we were talking about, a better bend than what we've got. So we're going to use deformers to do that. So under your modeling, whatever this is called, toolkit, under deform, nonlinear, and bend, you can see we get this line, and you have the under your attribute editors, we have a bend. So usually I'll just apply some bend to figure out where it's at, and then just rotate it into place. Let's see what we'll do here. We'll get this bend first. Yeah, get more of a bend in there. Might be too much. to there. Sure, our low and high bounds are thing. Maybe we'll exaggerate it just a little bit. I'm gonna move it just to make sure it's doing it where I want to. That's pretty good. So to bake this in, I'm just gonna click my object and hit history. And I'll get rid of the deformer. We'll go back to deform again. Do another bend. Bend it. Rotate it into place. This way. And for this bend, I think we're gonna move this guy down to this base here. Or we'll bound up. Pull the high bound all the way up. Just curvature a bit. So now I get a nice end along that, which may not be totally accurate, but it looks nice. That works. So we'll kill the history off that. And now to get our ridges in, I'm going to take this back down to a flat angle here. These transforms, get it on the ground, rotate it. Freeze transforms again. This is good. I'm just going to fix my pivot point just to be anal about it. There. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right. We might need a little bit more spreading in this. This way. So it's looking a little bit too tubular, I guess. So let's try a flare. Rotate it into place this way. And let's see our end flare there. Start, yeah, so we'll just kind of push this out. This in. There we go. Nice. It's good to me. Kill history. Now to get our wavy, swervy things in there, these ridges, we're going to use a sine deformer. And this is going to be a little different because I haven't used this much, but we're just going to give it a shot. So here's our sine deformer. And get it in the right orientation. Sometimes it helps just to move it off to the side just to see what's going on. So you can see it's adding these waves. So we're going to adjust the amplitude to about here. And there's our wavelength. So now if I move this through, you're going to see what that does. So should also have a frequency. They call it wavelength. So it's gonna, we're just gonna maybe add that much to it. Amplitude down a bit. Put it in here. So pretty good. It's a bit much. So we're just gonna pull the envelope down a bit. Get something like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. One problem though is it's not radiating center like I would like it to. Let's see how to fix that. That's pretty good right there. Let's take a look at our reference. Yeah, that's about right. This obviously this is a bit more random, but we still might be a bit strong. Pull down. And some of this is just trial and error, messing with it. I'm going to move the low and high bounds out. Just make sure we're getting the whole object. Like our rotations are funky. So let's zero these rotations out. Go. Now, if you were matching this to a definite concept, you might want to sculpt this stuff in ZBrush, but since we're not, this looks really nice. It's good. So I think we're good to go in Maya. That's where's our Oyster? So let's export this. And I always just name these to and from ZBrush, just so I know where what's going to what. Put that back. Much improved, just with those ridges. So let's drop this back down to our canvas for our floor. Rotate it. Kind of getting it flattened out here. Alright, that's good to go. So next step, let's crank up our Dynamesh a bit more. Give us some more resolution. So now we're around 250,000 polys, which is good. So let's add some noise to this. And I'm just going to do a general noise in Noise Maker here. Let's pump the scale up. Noise Maker is incredibly powerful. I highly suggest using this and learning the ins and outs of it. Apply that. Pretty good. Just for our like barnacle type of look. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that actually worked nice applying to the just a mesh. So I want to smooth this out. Smoother surface on the inside of an oyster. See, back face masking. It's a bitch. So apply that again. Smooth brush, back face mask. Now let's smooth. Go. Nice. Works for me. I mean, that looks pretty good as is now. compared to our ref here. Pretty good. I mean, there's some smaller ridgy type of stuff. We can go in there and try to knock some of that in. I would probably use slash. Let's see. See what the slash. Yeah, use a slash, and then we're going to use layers. So I'm going to make a new layer. And if you looked in at the reference, we have these lines that radiate out through the Oyster, so we're just gonna kind of slash these things in here. They're not totally even, a bit random. Go through here, make some smaller ones, break up some of these areas. And you can see that's quite a bit, so we'll just knock it back with the layer. There. It's good. Layers is great for that. You just basically carve really hard and then just dial it back in. So you don't have to worry about how hard you're sculpting. Maybe, no, these edges are pretty good. Maybe one more pass with the damn standard. Really small brush just to bring back some of our details here. Just a bit here and there just to accent these edges. Lost them. You don't want to go too nuts because oysters get water wear. Maybe nick some of these edges. I might use our mallet brush to break up some of the edges. They look a little clean. Some cracks in there. So we're going to go into, if I could find it, mount, and mount fast 2. So this is a great brush for damage. So I'm just going to knock some of these areas. And this, to use the mallet brush, you really just kind of bash things around. Just adding some variation. And I'm doing a really fast sculpt here. If I was doing this in production, this kind of object would probably take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to get a finished sculpt. That's pretty good. So there is our oyster. This is our sculpt. So the next thing I would do to prepare this for game engine or production is I'll duplicate this off, and I'll call this our projection, and then this guy we're going to Z remesh. We're just going to use this default, see what we get. This is a fairly simple object, so it should work pretty quick. wireframes here. That's pretty good. This is probably a bit high. We can try this again. See if we can get it lower. 5,000. Turn off adapt. Go lower. 2,000. This might work. Let's try it. So we're going to turn on our projection layer. And I like turning on solo just so I can see what the projection is doing to the wireframe. I'll hit project all, get it pushed out there. Divide, project all, divide, project all, divide, project all. It's working all right. There's some topology that's a little messed up, but it's fine for our demonstration. Or project all, divide one more time. Here's our last projection. Actually, it looks pretty good as far as polys go. So now what we've got is high-res object, but we have subdivision levels. So now if I go back down to division 1, we can go over here to our Z plugins and we'll run UV master and unwrap it. Now we've got UVs. And there you go. So what you would do now, I know people are going to have questions about this. You would either bake out a normal map or a displacement map. If you're rendering, you'll do a displacement. If you're doing a game engine, you'll do a normal. Or you can create all of them. And this gets into a texture realm, but just for general usage, you can do a displacement, 4K, go to your export options, displacement map. It's going to say what subdiv level do you want to generate the map from. I think we went up to sublevel 6. I went up to 6, so we would set that to 6. 32-bit, scale and intensity, all this stuff is fine. And then you're going to hit create all maps. So let's just create one. It's going to stick it in whatever directory you're in. It's going to go through and generate it. And there we go. Map's done. So let's take a look what that did for us. Yeah, so you can see it's really light on my monitor, but you can see the displacement has been generated according to the UV map. So you would take this, put it into your rendering engine on your low-res geo, and enable subdivide, and there we go. We would get more into that. We'll get more into that into the texture class, but that should get you enough to at least have a proper model. A lot of times, even just going up like this is good enough sculpt for an object like this. You're probably going to see this thing maybe about this distance. Yeah, I mean this holds up even this close with the right mat cap on it. So put something like this, or if you put something a little bit more rough, this totally holds up just fine. Yeah. So let's save this. And we're done. There is our Oyster demo. Thank you, Sam, for the idea. And there we go. I will see you guys in class on Friday.